Openness in motion. The China International Import Expo returns to Shanghai for its 8th installment. Taking place from November the 5th to the 10th, the annual expo has generated a total of tentative revenues of $500 billion and this year is set to be the biggest one ever. Over 4,100 exhibitors from 155 countries, regions and international organizations will arrive with their latest products and services as Chinese purchasers, probably international purchasers as well, stand with their checkbooks at the ready. How does this relatively young expo become one of the major highlights on the international business calendar? Why does it continue to gain influence each year, and what does this reveal about China's commitment to expand high-level opening up, and how does it impact global trade? Welcome to CIIE Navigating Shared Growth, a special program brought to you by CGTN. I'm Lu Xin here in Beijing, and I'm pleased to be joined here in the studio by Zhang Xiaoyu, Associate Professor at the Academy of International Regional Communication Studies of Communication University of China. From Guangzhou in southern China by Fabien Pacory, Executive Vice President of CCI France Chine. From London by Hannah Ryder, a Kenyan economist and CEO of Development Reimagined, an African-led international development consultancy. And from Shanghai by Filipovic, who is from Serbia. He is now PhD candidate at the School of International Relations and Public Affairs of Fudan University. The warmest welcome to all of you, both online and here in the studio. So a very exciting time once again. Let's just recall a little bit the history, the birth of this very important event. As early as in 2017, the Chinese president announced in the Belt and Road High-Level Forum that China was going to hold this very important International Import Expo, something that is rather new in the world. And he said China was going to do that in 2018, and with a blink of eye, we are in the 8th installment. I want to go to Hannah. Hannah, let me go to you first. How do you think that this expo is showcasing the vast potential of the Chinese market, and how has it demonstrated China's will to continue further opening up its economy?
Yes, well, I actually visited the first CIIE back in 2018. And back then, and I think we can still say today, it was pioneering in the sense that there was no other country that was saying, we now want to open up our market to imports in a way that is very directed, very targeted. And we really want to diversify our imports from other countries. You know, it's not just a case of relying on Europe or relying on the US. Actually, we are going to also bring in products from African countries. We're open. And we saw countries like South Africa, Ethiopia at the time really taking that on. And since then, what we've seen is an expansion of the African presence in CIIE, for example. Yeah. It is making a difference. And also it provides an opportunity for Chinese consumers and buyers to see these products, new products, which have also been subject to new agreements between the Chinese government and African countries, but also where you have entrepreneurial African businesses saying, we want to try this out and bring in manufactured and value-added products as well. So it's really interesting, and it's been good to see the expansion and change over time.
Mr. Pacory, let me go to you. Of course, developing countries, including African countries, a very important focus for Chinese importers, for the Chinese government, for sure. But for businesses from developed countries, such as France, is it so important for China to have this platform for these international businesses to showcase itself? Because international business, multinationals began to invest in China decades ago. You know, why did they continue to jump on such platforms and continue to invest and try to promote their business to the Chinese market?
Yes, we know for France, since the beginning, France participate into the CIIE. We know it's a very important platform for innovation and collaboration, especially for French company also to understand the vast market of this huge, enormous market potential in China, but also to share and to discover new innovations, products, and new Chinese company. And also in order to accelerate the commercialization of different exhibited products. So yeah, it's a great platform. It's a fantastic vehicle for France as well.
May I ask how big is the French presence? For instance, I'm sure you, from your capacity, will be heavily involved in the organization of the French pavilion. For instance, tell us a bit about the scope of the French presence.
Yeah, we have a French pavilion organized by the French Embassy and Business France and the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And actually, the 6th of November, we organize a very interesting forum about climate change and biodiversity. And it's very interesting because we organize that forum also with the MOFCOM, the Ministry of Commerce, and the CIIE. So it's very important for us to share different opinion and ideas concerning this entire ecosystem of the CIIE platform.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing more details, but let's look at the idea behind the whole thing. I mean, China didn't just come up as a hot-headed idea. Let's do it. Actually, it is a long-term commitment. And for 16 consecutive years, China has been the world's second largest import market. And in the recently concluded communique that was published after the fourth plenum of the 20th CPC Central Committee, it was stated that China will continue to advance reform and development through greater openness and seek to share opportunities and achieve common development with the rest of the world. So, Professor Zhang here, what potential do you see in the Chinese market to attract global businesses and to share opportunities for common development?
This is a very good question, Ms. Liu. Actually, if we look at CIIE annually, first of all, what attracts me the most is the place, the city where the CIIE is hosted. It's about Shanghai. It's China's opening door to the world, also the financial center of the state. So Shanghai is a name card of China for openness. This is a very important place for all investors and talents all around the world come to China and experience China and they invest in China. The second important point is the CIIE's importance level. It is the first of a national level expo just for imports. We have lots of expos all around the world,
right,
but only for
selling products
yes,
to the rest of the world.
Yes, but for import, we only see here in China.
Why is China so keen about buying from everywhere? People talk about trade surplus. They always think trade deficit is a bad thing. Trade deficit means when you're paying others, right? You're paying for others to sell your product. Then you have, if you pay more, if you buy more, you have a trade deficit. And according to certain people, that's a problem,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But it seems that China is not so concerned about buying more. Why is that?
Actually, during the past 4 decades of a reform and opening up in China, we have sort of a name all around the world is China is a world factory. But now China wants to do something new, which means China is the world market. People are talking about deficit, but we care more about common development and the prosperity for all countries around the world. Especially in China, we have the second largest market all around the world, and we are going to have 800 million middle-income consumers in the coming next decade. So no country in the world can ignore such a big market here in China. We not only want to sell our products to go outside the world, but also want to invite different investors and the talents come to China and elevate our consumption standards and also production standards.
Enrich our lives, right? We want to have different experiences, different products from everywhere, including, for instance, from Serbia. That's where I'll go to our fourth guest, Filipovic. You spent, can I say, 3/4 of your life in China. You're more Chinese than you're Serbian, and you speak excellent Chinese, I believe. Why is the expo so attractive to foreign businesses, for instance, to Serbia? Of course, this year there will be 155 countries and regions and international organizations featured, that, ever growing. It's the largest yet. So tell us about your understanding of the attractiveness of this expo.
Thank you for having me here. For Serbia, it's a very important platform because our products, let's say 10 years ago, were not very famous in China. Serbia as a country is very, very, very famous in China because we had a very long history of friendship since 1955.
Yes.
This year is the 70th year of Sino-Serbian friendship. But 10 years ago, people didn't really know that Serbia has, for example, wine. People didn't know what products does Serbia have. But now, after nearly 10 years of Import Expo, everybody knows Serbia and everybody knows what Serbia has. And we also have the trade agreement with China, with European Union, with many other countries. So the Import Expo in these 8 years has become a platform for us for new connections. We are not only cooperating with China, we are also cooperating with other countries in Africa, in Central Asia. It has become a big platform for everybody to share the products, the talents, and everything else. And our ministers, our prime ministers have been here for many, many times. This year, our Prime Minister is also in Shanghai, and I'm very glad to see our officials coming on the highest level.
So these companies from Serbia, they have benefited from participating in these expo, Filip. Can you tell me in concrete terms, for instance?
For example, Serbian wine. Serbia has started to treat our wine as one of the strategic products that we want to sell to everybody. I know France also has very good wine, but Serbia is also
a bit
very
of competition
famous for making wine yeah, kind of competition, but this is why we have CIIE. We have to share all the products and let other people know that we have these products. And after that, I at least know 20 friends of mine that have been working in Serbia, Chinese and Serbian friends, that now are selling Serbian wines to the Chinese market. And now we can see Serbian wines in many places in Shanghai, for example, where I grew up. But 20 years ago when I came to Shanghai, I never saw somebody talking about Serbian wines.
Wow. Well, you're definitely a great spokesperson for that. Now you got us all curious how Serbian wine tastes like. And Mr. Pacory is a little nervous, I guess. The French wine exporters may face some pressure, but competition is good. And the Chinese market, I believe, still holds a huge potential. I believe there is a little bit more capacity for wine consumption in China. But aside from wine, I guess what the world has its eyes on is very much new technology from China, as China has been really spearing forward in terms of technological innovation. Hannah, I want to go to you there. African countries, of course, but Global South countries in general are equally interested in what kind of technical innovation and breakthrough that will be featured during this year's expo from all over the world. What would be your guess, and in which sector, for instance, will the latest technological innovation catch people's attention?
The professor mentioned that China's been seen as and remains the sort of factory of the world, but obviously is trying to do more to import. And you have an ambition from the African side to be the next factory of the world. So all the innovations in terms of manufacturing, in terms of machinery, agricultural machinery, anything that can make processing of material, which we know the African continent has an abundance of, anything that can do that and improve efficiency on the continent, so that we can ourselves be exporting more to China. You know, we want to see the tipping point where Chinese factories themselves will relocate to African countries in order to export to China, and taking advantage of things like our preferential duties. We've just had an agreement with China where all African countries will have zero tariffs into China. And so this is key for us. And that's where, even though the CIIE is focused on imports, of course, African countries, businesses and governments will take advantage of being in China to see these processes and do what they can to export, to also export these the machinery and so on.
For sure, for sure. A lot of people will go to the expo to see what's the cutting edge, right? What's the very latest that is on offer, and that can be found in China. Mr. Pacory, from the technological innovation perspective, what are French companies have to present as opportunity, as commodity, as service for the Chinese, buyers? And potentially buyers from elsewhere?
The French are very excited to be at the CIIE, especially because we know the CIIE serves as a launch pad, for new technologies and as a
Would
bridge.
you give an example? Yeah.
Yeah, we have special partnership, and we come to the CIIE to actually develop more partnership in biotech, in pharmaceutical tech, and medical tech. And life sciences. And this for us is also important. Of course, we have all the different luxury innovation range of products and companies there promoting their new products and product line. But actually concerning interesting breakthrough technology, as you mentioned, cutting edge technologies, we are also at the CIIE to try to see what kind of special partnership we can do for the future. We are here also to check new innovation together with Chinese companies.
So, Professor Zhang, it seems that this expo is not just an import expo where people lay out their wine, their food stuff, and it's actually an exchange ground of the very latest technology. And people will go there to follow the latest trend and potentially form partnerships. So it's not just from exhibits to goods, but also from exhibitors to investors, if you know what I mean. Tell us a bit more about the role of the CIIE as such a breeding ground.
Yes, during the past 8 years, the foreign investors and special young professionals come here to show their products, especially how they can fulfill the needs and demands of Chinese markets. It is a very important channel for foreign companies and enterprises that come here to show how much cooperations we can hope in the next few steps. So this year we can see, just like the French counterparts just mentioned, the pharmaceuticals and the biotech technologies are major factors here this year. But we can also see lots of different companies all around the world, like the American enterprises and the German enterprises. For instance, Siemens is going to have the very huge booth this year in Shanghai. So they are coming to take their pharmaceutical advanced technologies here. And also many foreign investors are caring about China's humanoid robots this year, and they're coming for technology exchanges and to see how much of the technological trends is going. And especially China's speed is something very attractive. Like the
speed,
efficiency. Efficiency. Like the Tesla factory in Shanghai is a very good example. From the construction to implementation, we just spent a year for foreign investors to make their supply chain fulfilled. So this is a very good signal for all investors around the world to come to see how efficient Chinese market is and how much they can do business here.
Yeah. Well, it seems a huge contrast to what we're hearing, at least in some other parts of the world, where, free trade is not so appreciated anymore. It's more looking inward and thinking, we want to keep our advantages, we want to keep our edges so that, we're not lagging behind. And it seems there is a very big difference in terms of philosophy? I don't know. Professor Zhang, I want to stay with you. Why is China so keen about opening up, about exchanges, about showcasing the best, about others showcasing their best, so we can build together? Whereas, in some other corners of the world, there's much talk of, isolationism, not so much free trade. Yeah, we want to keep what we have. We want to bring back manufacturing, fine, but, for investors, not so welcome. Almost.
Yeah, this is a very good question, actually. I want to start from the Confucius philosophy in China first, because in China, we have a very important core word from the ancient times. It's called harmony. In Chinese, it's named He. It means harmony is the most precious part when you are dealing with different relations all around the world. So from the very basic philosophical basis, China is a very open and tolerant country which want to be friendly with all partners around the world. And secondly, actually China really benefits from our partners who have been investing in China during the last 4 or even 5 decades. All these investors make the Chinese miracle. So that's why China wants to share what we have developed and make some common prosperity for all the partners and the friends around the world. These two factors really make us in a very different position about how to deal with the protectionism currently in the world. Actually, in this uncertain world economic order, China is certain. This is, we want to convey the message to all around the world.
Our openness is certain, Let me go back to Filip once again. Filip, you have been to the expo several times. How has this expo changed for, from your perspective, the role of the expo and the kind of activity that goes on?
I think it changed a lot. 8 years ago, when it just started, many people even didn't know what it really means. But nowadays we are seeing more and more high-tech stuff. This is the biggest change in my point of view. For example, the first time for me seeing the real eVTOL was during Import Expo. Now we can see many AI stuff. We can see more and more talents coming to the Import Expo to make connections, to sell their products to China and also study from China, because nowadays China is the biggest
and you can't really make that
in the world.
And you can't really make that distinction. What is Chinese? What is foreign? For instance, I understand there are a lot of foreign international collaboration.
It's mixed together.
Right.
It's mixed together. And why does that collaboration exist? Because Chinese market and Chinese policy can help many foreign products shine.
Would you give an example for that?
For example, we own Tesla. Tesla is an American company, but a car which used the battery, in the end, has the highest peak of sale in China. And the whole industry of these types of cars is the most efficient in China, not in Europe, not in the United States, but in China, because China has that type of policy to support new technology, and in a very efficient way.
Hannah, this is all very exciting, and yet there is a gap in terms of development. We do see that a lot of African countries are still lagging behind in terms of development. But China has made it very clear it wants to prioritize development, and it has actually granted zero tariff policy to all the least developed countries, including those from Africa. So the number of companies from Africa this year, for instance, is expected to jump by 80%. That's huge. And a lot of the African countries are coming with the best they can offer. Do you think this expo can be an occasion where African countries can also chip in and grasp the opportunities that come from such a synergy, with all the very best coming all together in this one location?
Yeah, I was going to say from the discussion that we've had, the other aspect of being in CIIE is really also understanding the Chinese market and getting the feedback from Chinese consumers, and also being inspired by other countries too, and what they're bringing in. We talked about Liu Xin, you mentioned, you talked about competition. Well, in some ways, yes, but also the Chinese market is growing. And so We also have wines from Ethiopia, Algeria, a number of other places.
I'm sure.
So, but the market is huge and the market potential is huge. And so I think that's part of the Expo's attraction, that it is a sort of, in a sense, a melting pot for all of these different ideas and opportunities. But as you're saying as well, it is very important that countries make a consistent effort to showcase at CIIE and follow up in particular. So we have countries who have been exhibiting from the beginning. I mentioned South Africa already. We have Zimbabwe, Zambia, Nigeria is going to be a country of honor at this CIIE. And that consistency is absolutely critical, and growing the interest from the company's side each time is really important, because that just means that they can learn, they can get the feedback, they can use it for their next set of products that they're going to be trying to export to China, and they can build those buyer relationships, which are the ones that really matter at the end of the day. You need to find a store, that you need to find a partnership that's actually going to be selling your products. You don't just want to be at the expo, and that's what they're looking for.
Finally, there has been a lot of talk of competition. Professor Zhang, competition can be scary. Sometimes it means the loss of livelihood. But it seems that, for instance, wine from other parts of the world could threaten Chinese wine producer vineyards. Honey from outside could threaten Chinese, honey bee farmers. How is China absorbing the shock of competition and turning that into a driving force for innovation and greater efficiency?
Yes, actually, before the policy of reform and opening up, many people were discussing about the competition from all around the world, because probably Chinese shareholders will be influenced from a very negative way. But during the past 5 decades, it has shown us that competition actually is a good way to drive Chinese products to find solutions and innovations to make a better way out. And that's why we can see from the 15th five-year plan in China at the moment, we care so much about technology innovation. That's what leads us to a better future. And also, currently, we think too much about AI data and also data-driven warehouses, logistics. These things are very new, but it was driven by the competition from the outside world. Now, we have a saying in China, it's called dual circulation, domestic circulation and international circulation. Right. Actually, we never forgotten about outside world competition and circulation. It means we need to do a win-win cooperation and a win-win solution for the world.
Well, sometimes we need a bit of a driving force, a bit of a passive motivation, let's put it this way. And in such changing times, it is probably imperative for us to keep thinking and keep taking actions. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. I would like to thank my guests for sharing with us your precious insights. Zhang Xiaoyu, Associate Professor from Communication University of China, Fabien Pacory, Executive Vice President of CCI France Chine, Hannah Ryder, CEO of Development Reimagined, and Filipovic, PhD candidate at the School of International Relations and Public Affairs of Fudan University.